we're doing it again. Somehow we're still on mic back.
It's happening.
It's so happy you're here.
So happy you're here.
We are so happy all of you are here. We have got a real big week. Can't wait to tell you what's happening. I mean, it's been a week and it's going to be a big week. But before we get to our first ever very special guest.
Yes.
How has your week been?
It has been insane. And I know that girls say that. I know, I'm just so busy. I'm so wiped out. Girl.
What makes it insane for you?
When I got a text from Erin and all it says is, girl, ... You know it's a week.
I'm pretending I don't even know. What?
Which Erin?
Tell me, what happened? I have no idea what you're talking about.
Listen, we try to dance. We try to dance gingerly around what happens at work. It's been a week at work, and we will be more descriptive and illustrative and informative as the days and weeks evolve. But I mean, are you guys familiar with the word shit show? Is that part of your vernacular? Because I would start there. I won't end there.
You know, the whole reason behind this podcast is to expose who Becky Wright really is. And we're getting a lot of good info out of her.
It's cheaper than therapy.
So we typically kick off every show with just a little fashion tidbit. It could be anything about fashion because that's how we all met. And because we have our very first ever guest, and because she is such a big part of why we started this podcast,
yes,
part of our Saturday morning fashion show that we've been doing for 10 years, give or take, all together. Yeah. My fashion advice this week is if you love it, you better keep it.
I love this.
I am wearing a short sleeve, baby pink faux fur coat, if you're not watching us on YouTube. I purchased this in 2017 when a stunning woman by the name of Karen Fairchild, who's part of Little Big Town, designed an exclusive collection for our network.
Right.
Now, some people would call me a hoarder. Some people would say, don't you ever get rid of things? But I say, if you love it, you keep it. And you never get rid of it.
Right.
And I have kept this since 2017. I've probably worn it straight through. It has not had a break. I did not find a time where I didn't love it. I just styled it differently. And I have it on a good note that our very special guest also bought the same jacket, also wears the same jacket.
Now,
so to pay homage to her, I wore it.
Now, very special guest. I think do we want to intro very special guest?
Yes. So our very special guest, which she is special on her own, but this is also our first guest moment.
Yes.
This will be our 12th episode. Thank you so much for making them all amazing. This is our first episode with a guest. So she's special on her own.
Yes.
But also special because it's the first time we're zooming somebody in here. So please be patient with us. If any of our technology...
I am completely pitted out. I'm just going to share with you.
And it is Becky's fault if technology goes down, just so everybody knows.
Well, it's also through the miles and miles that very special guest is coming to us. Those of you that have been part of the network, part of our friend group for over a decade, Wake Up in Style over a decade.
Yes.
A very special shout out to the one, number one in our hearts, in our minds. Drum roll, please. From New Zealand, calling in live. I don't even know what day it is for you, love of my life. Ladies, gentlemen, it's Jess Manuel.
Crowd goes wild.
You're looking good, pretty in pink.
Hello from down
under. I'm really rocking my 80s and Wilson Hart era, and I'm just embracing it, and I love it so much.
You look amazing, Jess. If people haven't...
We walked in the garden, we planted a tree. Please don't you go. The one little thing that you can. All I want to do is make love to you. Okay.
It's all you.
Oh yes, Erin. To Erin.
Home.
Kick it.
Bring it on home.
Wait, Erin, to your point, can I show you?
Yes.
When I saw that you had the Fairchild mauve faux fur coat on.
Throw it away.
Say it right.
Girl.
Say it right.
Now I'll just put it on, but I have to tell you.
Yes.
If you want to know, this has been hand carried from the US, okay? This has crossed the Pacific down to New Zealand. Also, when I was packing up my entire life to move to New Zealand, what also made it were the Fairchild sequin pants.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't have those right now,
I kept those too.
but I'm telling you, I wore them recently at an event I was hosting, and they created a phenomenon. They were a phenomenon. People were like, "What are you wearing? Where did you get this? What's happening?" Because they just don't have that kind of style where I live.
So wait, how did you decide what made the cut? You had to literally pare your whole life
It
down.
didn't make any sense. I'm telling you, like we had literally our entire life like laid out on our basement floor and we're weighing suitcases. We only took 6 suitcases and I'm like things that made it. And honestly, I think I was a little bit deranged, but I'm like the pants have to come, obviously the pants have to make it.
Also,
They're sequin
have you
pants.
know that when she arrived down under, I got a note that said, "Hey, by the way, I packed some of your personal things. You don't know about it, but you're missing them. Let me know when you realize what they are."
I have the cream pants.
Yep.
I have some strappy black heels.
So
I have
hot.
some faux leather leggings
Yes.
of Aaron Newberg's.
Yes, they just like went into her bag. And
They're on a little global
I
adventure.
had to figure out which ones they were as I looked through my closet. So let's do this, you guys. Let's kind of start from the top because believe it or not, there are people who listen to us who haven't watched our Saturday morning show that Jess was such an important part of. So first and foremost, we have to properly introduce Jess Manuel.
Absolutely.
How do we know her, Beck? How do we know her?
Star of stage and screen.
Yes.
Former worker in Antarctica.
Yeah.
Former attendee of NIDA. Jess, what is NIDA?
The National Institute of Dramatic Art in Sydney. It's where I went to drama school.
Former Bloomington Jefferson
Kennedy girl.
Kennedy.
Don't get it wrong. So do this, Jess. Give us your quick background and how you landed into home shopping. Like tell us where you were, how you got into home shopping, because that's where the two of us meet up.
Okay, I'll give you my little elevator pitch. So it's a big circle of the globe. I University of Wisconsin, go Badgers, good times. I'm like, I want to do something crazy after college. I go to Antarctica. I start feeling airplanes and buildings and driving fuel deltas around in 80 below zero weather. I'm like, great, I'm going to go to acting school. I go to Sydney. I audition for the National Institute of Dramatic Arts. Little did I know, I'm like, yeah, this will be fun. There were like 1,000 applicants and they only accepted 26 people. I was lucky enough to get in, which was amazing. Such a beautiful 3 years there. I meet my husband Dino in a bar, pick him up the old fashioned way. And I said, let's do this. We move in 2 weeks later. We've been together like over 20 years now. So I'm in Sydney and then I'm like, okay, well, I'm done with acting. Let's go to LA. So Dean and I moved to LA and I'm doing film and television there, lots of commercials, fun films, had a great time in LA. Honestly, loved it. And then we had my son in LA and we were literally stuck in traffic on the 101 and I was like, we out of here. I'm like, I'm not raising a kid here.
Like
that
to you. Traffic will do
like,
that.
I'm done. I don't want to do that. So we moved to Minnesota, where I'm originally from, and then started to do film and television there as well because I had some contacts. And then I auditioned it was Evine at the time. And I didn't hear anything. So I was like, whatever. I remember the beautiful Kimberly Wells was my host, which is she was so lovely. And I was selling a pair of Corky shoes that have those, those bright strappy sandals with the stitching.
Who can forget?
Yep. And then I didn't hear anything for a year. And then I was 3 weeks out from giving birth to my second child, my daughter, and I get a call and they're like, yeah, we need you. And I'm like, I'm about to have a baby. So, no. And they're like, well, how fast can you get in here? I'm like, I'm having a child. I'm like, I don't, dude, and like camera ready. Ladies, my bra size was an H.
I do remember meeting you the first time thinking, whoa.
I mean, they were up here.
Yeah, they were hitting you in the face.
They were up here. I was choking. And so they're like, yeah. And I have a funny story too, because when I finally got into Evine, they were like, okay, you're going to be taking over Aaron Newberg. Aaron Newberg. I'm like, who is this Aaron Newberg? Like, it was like I was They were talking about a celebrity, and I'm like, where have I been? I don't know. I was Googling Aaron Newberg. I'm
I'm not
like,
going to find anything on the Google machine.
I couldn't find anything on like shop. I'm like, who is this Aaron Newberg? And then the rest is history. So basically fell ass backward into it, which I have done my whole life. I've fallen ass backward into everything.
But you fell backwards in a beautiful way and it landed
Yeah.
you. So this is where Becky and I meet Jess. We had been the fashion guests for a few years together.
Yes.
The company decided to move me into the host role and they were backfilling my job.
Right.
Hence why they were like, why don't you just take a look at what Erin does? Some crazy person thought I did an okay job and said, you might as well, watch her programming. So Jess came in to fill my guest spot.
Yeah.
And then when I became host, you two are my main guests
On
with
Wake
Maya on Wake Up every Saturday morning. So
Oh my
that's
God.
where it landed. The
That's
three of
where
us.
it
And that's how
landed.
most of you know Jess, and that's how we all became such good friends.
Yes.
So Jess,
Yes.
there's a lot has changed over the course of, and we're going to get to where you are currently in your life.
Yeah.
But what do you remember most about home shopping? Like, did you ever think you would see yourself there?
Oh, absolutely. It's so funny. And I think about this a lot. And I love life for this particular reason that if you would have told me when I was in LA doing film and television, hey, you're going to live in Minnesota, you're going to do home shopping, and you're going to have 2 kids, I would have been like, so say it ain't so. Well, and that's what's so exciting about the future. Like if someone popped in and say, hey, you're going to be living in Singapore doing something, I don't know where we're going, right? Which is so cool. But honestly, it was such an amazing experience, so rich with friendships and laughter. And granted, there were some down days, let's be real. Like not everything
Don't
is
worry.
sunshine and
We're going to ask you about them. Don't worry.
there's no sunshine and roses. But I would love to share a particular when I first really met Aaron Newberg, and then on how I know Becky Wright. So Aaron, quickly, I just met you in like the visual room where we get all of our supplies and notes, and it was like hi. But I was specifically remember I was doing one of my first shows, and you came in probably straight out of another studio, coming in hot. You had a Diet Dr. Pepper and like a candy bar and like your makeup case, and you're like, hey, how's it going? Like, and just came in like a flash. And I remember like looking at you like, wow, this like beautiful lady like eats candy and like drinks Diet Dr. Pepper. Like it just didn't like compute.
You don't
And
do
then
that in
cut to
LA.
me.
Yeah, welcome to Minneapolis.
Well, cut to me like 4 years down the track, I'm like huffing like sugar on the side and like drinking, sludge coffee from the machine. Like I'm like, oh, okay, get it. I'll make sense.
Survival tactic. It's a survival.
It's survival. And then Miss Becky Wright and I go in the Wayback Machine. Wayback Machine. We were modeling together, but like Becky Wright and her crew were like the cool kids. Okay. They were like setting Minneapolis was being set on fire by like Becky Wright and her crew. And I remember going into like our agent's office and I'd see her and I'd be like, they'd be talking about like going out and getting drinks. And I was like, wow.
And you were probably 12. And I'm smoking heaters and kicking back shots.
But I mean, oh yeah. So there's a little background
on Becky being a professional model. We already had an entire episode about it.
Now we have validation.
And now we have 2 professionals and just one little rural Wisconsin girl trying to get a
small town girl.
Is there a favorite part of the job? Because no, you are truly, like we said, Jess is a trained actress, so like actor. I mean, she's worked with some big names, been in some big things. But remember Jane Lynch once said,
Yes.
She once said that home shopping was the best improv training of her life. Would you agree with that?
100%. 100%. And a little thing, like for me as an actor, one of my favorite things to do is to make people corpse. And that's what I don't think that maybe that's more Australian or English term, like make people laugh.
Yes.
Because I would do it to my actors, like when I was on stage and I'd be like, I'd do crazy things with my eyes, like no one else could see, but they could. And they'd be like, fuck, like they just start laughing. It's my favorite thing to do. So I think those were my favorite moments, like having little inside jokes with the producer in my ear. I would be doing stuff off camera and having a giggle, or like things would happen for us on stage. Like one of my favorite memories, Erin, was I
Oh
think
God.
you had a pair of like stretched jeans on,
Yeah.
and you were like, "Look, you can shit down," and I just remember your face, because you were a newer host and
Yeah.
your face was just like straight fear. And I was like, yes, you can sit down.
Jess, will you tell the story about the hot mic moment when it was a long day? Do you remember
Oh my gosh, I was just thinking about that before I came on. I was like, it was, I think I had just a new guest, and it was one of my first like 24-hour TTVs back in the day,
But
right?
let
So
me
you
remind everybody, we used to work around the clock. And if you were a guest and you had that special item, you literally could work 20 of the 24 hours,
Yeah.
like around the clock.
Absolutely. And
Okay.
you're sleeping like a vampire because you like sleep in your makeup and you
Yes.
just rise at like
Yeah.
3 a.m. to do a show.
Yes.
And then you sleep like this, and we're dry shampooing the hair. We're just adding more makeup.
Yes.
And so that was my first experience of like working around the clock, sleeping there as well. And I remember I had to do a last show. I think it was like 11 p.m. And I forgot to turn off my mic. It was my last show of the day. And I walked in with a hot mic and I was like, oh, bitch, be done. Like I said, it's so loud.
And it broadcast over all the
Everyone heard it.
airwaves. In your defense,
And
the director should have cut you as well. You both
well,
cut you.
yeah, and I was like, it
Done.
sounded so like guttural. And you can look back. I think I had a recording for a while because you could see them talking about something else and just hear this, bitch, be done. And then I think it was like Wendy Russo was like, yeah, I think we need to cut someone's mic.
We had so many laughs together. Like the improv of it all, I think is where the three of us hit our stride together.
Did you notice how
God.
even opening this interview, we all started just singing? Like
Ripping.
that's just who we are.
Yeah. But I think that's where we hit our stride with it all. So it is like, to your point, being an actor in LA and going to Air One for your smoothies, it may seem like a funny little job, but it is really, there's like magic to it. There's
Oh my gosh, so much.
here in, like,
And the magic is the people. Like everyone that worked there was just so awesome and funny and quirky. One of my favorite memories was when I was playing the piano in the background. So this was a wake up in style. Was it like
the Air Band.
Yeah, why was I playing piano?
Because our producer at the time, Mike, stepped in for Nina.
Yeah.
And we used to, we just kind of had carte blanche to have as much fun as we wanted, which is another reason I think Saturday mornings became fun, because it was fun. Like, we are not silly enough in real life. So it was fun. But a producer stepped in for our traditional producer, Nina, and his name is Mike. And he's like, I really want to do something wild, because it was really one of the only shows that was allowed the freedom to just be silly and have fun. And so he basically managed an all-female air band. And
So we had this thing going.
Yeah.
I'm like in the back playing air keys. Like we are doing this.
It's called the good old days when we could have fun and it was successful.
But here's the thing. You like to play. Like, we play for a living.
Yeah.
It's serious.
It's the one thing I love in life. Like, if we're not laughing, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we got to be silly and funny and make fun of ourselves and be irreverent. And it's just like what I love. It's my favorite thing to do.
Well,
I'm
like
making
we talked
people
about
laugh.
before, we've all taken our jobs very seriously, but not ourselves.
Yes.
And I wish more people would do that.
That's a good way to
take your job, take your responsibility seriously, but you don't need to take yourself seriously.
Oh, like I showed up. This girl was profesh. Like, I did my thing, like never late. I was doing my thing, prepared, but like now we can have a lot of fun.
And then bitch be done.
Bitch be done. It was so guttural. It was like a man.
My favorite thing too is you knew you did it and you said, I've never said that expression of day in my life. Where did that come from?
Exactly. It was like something that I don't think I ever said it. And it's like, why did I have to say it with a hot mic on?
But that leads us to something we wanted to ask you too, because it's not all sunshine and rainbows. This is a very difficult job to be in. And I always say that one of the things people underestimate is the time, because you don't have a regular circadian rhythm, you don't have regular sleep. Like you might work around the clock and then start saying it at hot mics, shit you would never have said.
Right.
Like, what was something for you, Jess, that was difficult that people wouldn't know is difficult about this?
Well, I think you touched on it. That schedule, and towards the end, before I left, I had just a grueling schedule. I really didn't have 2 days off in a row. So that was, it was super exhausting. But an odd thing that I now looking back on that was super draining for me was the beauty upkeep. Ladies, I have not been in a nail salon in like 3 years. I've been once. I went once with my mom when she came in last December. I haven't sat in a nail chair. Okay, so like that is like freedom.
Right? Like
And
all the upkeep.
And it took all the fun. You know how getting ready for a hot date years ago was like fun? You
It
put
was like,
on, you
oh,
do
I'm
your
getting
hair.
pretty.
This job takes all the fun out of upkeep.
Well,
Well,
the
I
minute
think
it becomes part of your contract, then it's not as much fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you had to, and it would be this thing where I finally had maybe a Sunday off with the family, because I've got kids, I've got a husband, I'm trying to like juggle all those, like, quality times, but yet, 4 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon, I got to go get my nails done, and they're like hanging at the park. So that was like, I think the beauty upkeep, was particularly hard for me, and I think I've only recognized that being so far away from it, because where I live now, beauty aesthetic is very different, very, very different.
Oh,
Like
natural.
most people do not wear any makeup. Most people that I interact with, there's no makeup. This is the most makeup.
Would they say if I walked into Julian's 9 a.m. soccer game with a fake eyelash on and a bright red lip? Would they
they'd
think
be like, damn. Okay. I mean, I'm not saying that no one does, but like it's not the norm.
Sure. Okay, so that leads us to, wait, so do you ever miss home shopping?
There are moments, and
do you miss
so
the
funny
adrenaline of it?
I miss you guys. Like I miss, like if I could come back and do like an old school wake up in style, are you kidding? Sign me up. I would be there in a heartbeat. It was just so much fun. But there's something in my life, like I've done a lot of weird things. Like there's just a door that closes. And like kind of with acting, there was an opportunity. Someone asked me, hey, do you want to do a play? And I was like, no. Like the door just is like closing, and I just keep moving. I keep on moving on.
But you're listening too. We talked about that. Listening to the prompts are coming and you're paying attention because you've always been so in tune with the messages you're getting.
Oh yeah.
Well, and we're gonna get to that too. So now that we talked about home shopping, and anytime you want to come back to a Saturday morning, you've got about 3 weeks to make that happen.
I don't know if they'd let me back in the building. They'd be like, we let
about 3 weeks, and then we're not quite sure who can say what's happening next. But here's the deal. So 2020 hits. I don't know if y'all remember, there was a global pandemic. It was called COVID.
I do remember that.
Jess's babies were the youngest of all three of ours.
How old were they?
They were 7 and 5.
Yeah. Babies.
Yeah.
We talk about my kids were 2nd grade and 6th grade. Your kids were in college, right?
High school and college.
So we're working through, I don't know, somehow we got deemed essential workers.
Yeah.
So we're working through COVID. I remember.
The stretch legging is essential.
Yes.
Do you remember that little piece of paper we had if we got pulled over on the road?
We could show a piece of paper that said we're essential, and it said for home shopping.
Yeah.
Who knows? All right. Great news. We're all healthy. We made money during it. I don't know.
Right.
So in the middle of COVID, you're like, you know what, guys? Peace. I'm headed to New Zealand with my family.
Later, Gator.
Where did this come from? How did this happen?
So, I think a lot of people took time to review their lives during COVID, right? It was like this period where we're like, whoa, this is somewhere we've never been before. We're all at home. What's important? So my husband Dean and I started to have these conversations like, how do we want to live our lives? What's important? We just had like this space to do a little life review. And, COVID was crazy. The climate was intense. And I just was like, my husband's from New Zealand, and never in a million years would I have thought that I would have moved my whole family to New Zealand. And it just started like a little seed started to plant. We're like, what if we did that? And we just started investigating a little bit more and more and more. And then in 2020, at the end of 2020, we were like, let's do this. So we started to put a plan in place. It was like saving a total, a bunch of cash, just putting this little thing into place. And we just saved basically all of 2021. And we left August 30th, 2021 is when we started our adventure in the middle of a pandemic,
No big deal.
I mean, literally. And I remember you documented that journey. Will you walk the viewer through that actual experience of, okay, sell the house, you're packed, the bags are packed, you gotta grab the sequin pants.
Yeah.
And then what happened?
I got the sequin pants.
I mean, and it was my kids to the grocery store.
Right.
And you took your kids to New Zealand during that time.
So it was like, I look back now that we've done it and I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
What did we do? That's crazy.
It is.
I'm like, was I mental?
Yes. Certifiably.
The four of you.
But I love that I'm just like,
room?
yeah, we're doing it. Like, I don't know. It's actually bananas that we actually did it. Cause I look back, I'm like, okay. So we
walk
sell the
us
house.
through it. What happened?
We pack everything into our entire life into 10 boxes and 6 suitcases. But what happened, because it was the pandemic, our flights kept on getting canceled. And we only had one day that we could arrive in New Zealand because we had to go into quarantine. Right. If we missed that day, quarantine was booked out for like a year. Okay. So it was like, if we don't get into New Zealand on the 31st of August, we are living in my parents' basement with no jobs, no car, and no place to live. Like literally.
Yes. And your 10 boxes.
And I'm like, where am I going to be in our 10 boxes?
We may not stay in New Zealand. We don't know.
And who had stricter protocols? Nobody in the globe had stricter protocols than New Zealand.
New Zealand was tight. And so we had to, so I would wake up one morning, you're like, sorry, your plane is canceled. I'm like, ah. So I'm like, like, just how are we getting there? How are we getting there? What's out there? Okay. And then the prices were getting, and then it got canceled again. And then we were going to have to stay like 20 hours in the airport, but they're like, you can only stay 19 hours in the airport. I mean, it was crazy. So we finally got, the trip was epic. It was Minneapolis to Chicago. We stayed a night in Chicago. 15-hour flight to Hong Kong. I have pictures of this. I was literally sleeping on the floor, and the airport's empty. All these beautiful stores, Louis Vuitton, all these gorgeous designer stores, everything's closed. You can't do anything. I'm sleeping on a floor. I'm like losing my mind. I go, Dean, I don't care what you got to do. Like, they have these little like sleeper rooms.
Oh, right.
I don't care how much it is. I'll just go and get us some. So he booked us into a lounge where we both got 2 rooms, took a shower. They had this nice little like breakfast in the morning because we had a 19-hour layover.
Oh my God.
With 19 hours.
2 little kids.
With a 5-year-old and an 8-year-old.
Yes. It was crazy. Then we get on a 10-hour flight to Auckland. And the kids are just like, the great thing about traveling during that time, no one was on the airplane. Honestly, we had rows and rows and rows that we just stretched out on. I think there were like 20 people on this plane.
So good.
So thank goodness they didn't cancel it. Huh. And then 20 hours, they pick us up in Auckland. You got to realize, we're crazy. Like, I am like, I don't know where I am. I'm on the boat. I've got vertigo. The kids are there. The kids were amazing by any. I mean, they literally were hauling their own suitcases. Like, couldn't have been more proud. And then they lock us in a hotel room for 2 weeks.
Wait, 1 hotel room for the 4 of you.
We had another room, but it wasn't adjoined, and our kids were too little. Like, we couldn't just like leave them. So we put our suitcases in there, but we literally were in this room eating every meal. There's no housekeeping. There's like salmon bits on the floor. Like it just is like
How do you get food?
they delivered food to us morning, three meals a day.
And like prison. They do that in
It was
prison.
like prison.
Yeah.
And at least I was wondering if we could have a view. We were looking at like a plastic wall. There was no view. Like if we could have looked out over the harbor, because like Auckland's quite beautiful. They call it the city of sails, lots of sailing. It was like a plastic wall. I was like, I'm losing it.
Wait,
It's
did you get to
crazy.
go outside? Did you have a balcony?
Oh, you'll love this. So they had like you could sign up for walking areas. One was like a car park in the basement, where like an underground parking garage. And so my kids are little, right? So I'm trying to get them to skip, we're just trying to move our body. You walk around like in a corral. And the people were like, sorry, no running. Sorry, no running. You can't be running. I'm like, dude, they're 5. My daughter's 5. Like, nope. Then you can go up to the rooftop, which was exclusive. And
That's where the dance party is.
you could see a like slice of the sky. You guys, they had smoking boxes. So there's people just in these hot boxing themselves in smoking boxes. Just like smoking cigs, but they're in like glass containers.
Wait, so is everybody there in quarantine? Like everybody's in that
Everybody.
quarantined.
Yeah.
So all in
And
the
you can
same
just
situation.
walk around in a circle. Like that's it. That's all you can do. And my kids are like, what are they doing? I'm like, they're smoking cigarettes. Ew, why? I'm like, because it's gross. And they're just literally in a hot box.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the 4 of you got in there and started smoking after
And
everything.
just like, hey kids, you want to try?
Yeah. It's now or never. Like you
So
and
there
me
you go.
will never get a divorce now. If you made it through that, like you're golden. Like happy 70th anniversary. We already know you.
Oh my gosh. But the best part is, so we survived quarantine. And so every 3 days we have to have these COVID tests. And my son Julian is like deathly afraid. It wasn't like, oh, let's swab. It was like, we're getting brain matter. It was the kind you're like, Julian, we had to hold him down. He was like,
Oh,
at one point we reserved, there was like a little banquet room that we could play in that you could reserve for an hour, and we had a ball, so we played handball. We would run around like this room.
you're just making up games at this point.
Oh, absolutely. So what was that?
I was gonna say, was it worth it? Because dear God, already I want to get out. I want to get out.
I know. And it's so funny. We finally make it to Nelson. That's where we live. But it was another, like, we couldn't fly just from Auckland to Nelson. For some reason, we had a layover Wellington, like another, it just was like, I'm not going. And so we finally get to where we're landing. And Dean and I had been here once when I was 20, because after Antarctica, I traveled a lot around New Zealand a lot. But I'll never forget this. We're just like, the plane is like landing, and Dean and I were sitting across the aisle from each other, and we just kind of go, I guess we live here now. Like, I guess we're living here now. And there were like chickens in the back of the plane. There was like these little chicks, like there's like chickens. And I just was like, I guess we live here now. It was one of the most bizarre. We had no job. We did have a place to live. Marge, by the way, if anyone knows Model Marge.
Yes. So you get out of quarantine, 2 more flights and a long ride. You land in Nelson, no jobs, but you have a place to live because good energy follows you around. Tell everyone.
Yeah. So if you've watched the show, Model Marge is amazing, and they are some of our dearest and bestest friends here. They were in the States, and they randomly have a home, and we were able to stay in their house, and their generosity literally helped us like land on our feet. Yeah. We wouldn't be here without them. There's so many, and they still are. Brian, her partner, stained our deck the other day. They're watching the kids today when I go to work.
They treat your kids like grandkids.
They really do.
Oh, absolutely.
You are like family to them.
And when Marge has come home since, like, she loves nothing more than to talk about how much she loves hanging out with all of you, which is amazing. Yeah. Which is so cool. Okay, so what does life look like now in New Zealand? Like, how is it different? How is it the same? How much do you miss us?
Do you know Reagan?
Okay, well, yeah. I miss you so much. So it's been a really interesting 3 years. There's been so many positives, but also like changing your whole life and living in another country isn't easy. I'm just going to say that. Like, it's real. I have to say, one of my favorite things is that the kids, so adaptable, slipped in, living their best lives, have friends, very happy, well adjusted. And I was talking to Becky before we started. They're living the life of our childhood. Like, they run around the neighborhood free. I've got sheep across the road right here. They wake me up in the morning. There is a mountain, like we have world-class mountain biking literally across the street from me. The ocean is like 5 minutes. So that, and we jump in rivers, and we just like, we go hiking, and it just, the childhood that they are having is worth everything.
Yeah.
That's, what I would say.
Makes me second guess everything I'm doing back home. Carry on, carry on.
I would say for me personally, it has been a journey making friends. Like, we have friends with our children's kids and stuff like that, but it's been a slow burn. And I think a lot, like, you think, oh, New Zealand, they speak English. Like, how hard could that be? It is very culturally different. And I like making fun of myself. I like fun of me, I think it took people a while to understand my humor because I'm just like, this is crazy. Look at that. And they're like, so it's been an
Are they
interesting.
more British than like if you had to compare them? Okay.
Yes. One, a little bit more reserved, super lovely, like salt of the earth, though, I have to say. Like, they're gonna help you with anything. They're gonna, come over and help you dig out the tree. They're gonna lend you their truck. Like, so good people.
Like small town would be here for us.
Oh, yeah. And we live in a very small town too. So there's some of that as well. Like, we live in which is a new experience for me.
Right.
It's small.
You've always been big.
Good.
Yeah. Okay, so you worked in Antarctica. You were an actress and a model all over the place. You worked at Shop HQ, home shopping. What are you gonna do now?
Oh, girl.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so I've had an interesting kind of jobby job. So I landed again, as I do, ass backwards. I am the funding and development manager at the Nelson Center of Musical Arts,
Of
which
course
is
you are.
amazing. It's such a cool, like, local place that's been around since like 1894. Beautiful building, amazing workplace, work-life balance is very
Almost an
much.
Yeah. Is that
Almost
a
an
New Zealand concept? Only for
Trabajar es muy bien.
I've never heard of such a thing. We'll have to look into that. We'll have to see what that's
Google
all
it.
about. Yeah, I'll work. What did she say?
And like, they're
Balance. Okay.
like, I just love it. And we do, and it's nice to be a part of something that really is changing people's lives. They're learning music, and there's music coming in and out. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm raising money. I do fundraisers. I write grants. I mean, who knew this was going to be, that's what's so cool about life. Like I said, what's next?
Yes.
That's my day-to-day job, but I know you and we've talked about it, and I'll tell the listeners as well. Something happened to me when I moved to New Zealand. I think I was able to find a peace. I unspooled from metrics, how I used to measure myself. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's the only way I can really explain it. Like, I unspooled from the old idea. What was that?
Like, you freed yourself from the expectations or the metrics that have been created for you, maybe while you were here in the US.
Yeah. And so it really was, and it wasn't easy because I was like, who am I? I really had one of those moments like, who am I?
And
like,
let's don't minimize like decompressing from a pretty stressful jobs, whether it was the schedule, managing the kids. I mean,
it's a high adrenaline,
yes.
high octane, very intense job.
Mm-hmm.
So even if you were just to come out of your job as a host, a shopping host, if you were just to come out of it and just stay at home in your own house that you already knew with your family and your familiar surroundings, that's a hard transition.
Yeah.
But to go to
I think you hit it on the head because you are you're not getting that dopamine hit, right? You're not getting that, okay, 3, 2, 1, bam, and that's an adrenaline, that's cortisol, that's dopamine, right? So when that's not there, it's like, oh, how you have to start to regulate yourself.
Just crack
Um,
cocaine now.
what was that?
Just crack
It's
cocaine.
just
You just
cocaine
gotta
or home shopping. You got two options.
Yeah, that's all it is. So anyway,
Do
it's
not
been a really
support
good
cocaine, everybody.
stay in school, kids.
Yes.
It's cool. I learned it from watching you, all right?
That's right. I'm a very special after school with Jess.
Yes, they.
So you have freedom now in like, you don't have these expectations or you don't have this adrenaline and sharp schedule. Like it felt like we were always, or it still feels like this for me, and I'm sure it feels like that, felt like that for you. Like you were always waiting for somebody to tell you what to do. And now you get to tell yourself what to do.
Yeah. And that is terrifying. It is like very vulnerable. It is like, okay, well, what are you gonna do? So I landed this amazing job at NCMA. And then I don't know if anyone knows, but when I was in LA, I did a lot of life coaching and I really, really love that. I love helping people and I love like the woo-woo world of the unseen. That just is where my happy place is. And I had to kind of leave that. When I moved back to Minnesota, it was like, okay, I got kids, I'm doing home shopping, I'm doing acting and television. Like I just couldn't keep that business up. And anyone that has ever run their own business knows like how much,
Right. No space
energy
for
that takes to keep it up. And so I would say 2021, I really started to come back to that. And I started studying mediumship with this amazing woman. Her name is Danielle Sarank. She goes by the Squamish Medium. She's in Squamish, British Columbia. And that just started to open up a whole new world for me. I started tuning in, tapping in, and turning on, girls.
Yeah.
And this is what I really see like my future. And it just brings me so much joy.
So what does that actually entail? If somebody's like, wait a minute, what do you mean? Tuning in to our show on
To
Saturday
what?
morning, tuning into your intuition, like what is it?
So it really is. So mediumship. So I do psychic mediumship. So like straight mediumship, evidential mediumship means connecting with people's loved ones who have passed. And when I say evidential, that means making sure you know who I'm talking to. It is giving names, it's giving dates, it's giving how they passed and giving specifics. And then I go on to their loving messages. And so my why is always to give messages for everyone's greatest and highest good, to create more personal peace, because my goal is that world peace starts with personal peace. And I can just help doing that by delivering one message at a time.
Wow.
Wait, world peace starts with personal peace. Yeah, that's
That's my wise.
I used to think it started with a great pair of shoes, but you're right.
Hey, you can look great too.
Thanks, Ben. It starts with personal peace. So, wait, I told Jess you have to tell everybody about this because we've had a personal like connection on it. If she literally, it's a crazy story that we'll get into.
It's good for doubters too. I think if people are like, wait, what?
Exactly.
Well, so speaking of doubters, before we get into our personal story together, Jess, but speaking of doubters, Becky and I are God girls, and there's a lot of people who listen to this who are God people or who are doubters. And every time I've asked you about it, they really go hand in hand, like what you do. And
I believe in God 100%.
Yeah.
God is everywhere. God is good. Okay.
Because
God
they go
flows
hand
through
in hand. I
me.
think a lot of people think it's like the opposite of what we've learned.
Oh,
And
absolutely
actually,
not.
like
This is not dark. This is not witchcraft. This is not evil. This is actually tapping into the spirit of life. I love God so much. God is in every moment of my life. God flows through me. It is the energy. I see it as the very much quantum physics is like God, because God's everywhere, right? Spirit is everywhere. And my guides and spirit and angels are with me every single day. That's how I can do this work. They allow me. And how I tune in is, I've developed clairs, which is like clairaudient. I hear things. Clairsentient. I feel things. Clairvoyant is like I see things in my mind's eye. And claircognizant is like I just know things. So that's the communication of mediumship and psychic mediumship, is that's how I use my body and my tools to commune and connect with God and spirit. Like that's my work. Okay. It's high vibes. It's
And it really
good.
is high vibe.
Yeah.
It's like so high vibe.
Well, and isn't it like we all are born with gifts? We all have different gifting. Why would you not go to your friend that just has that? You've always had that intuition. You have that gifting, and now you've just honed what was naturally given to you.
Well, and to that point though, I believe everybody has this. If you want to develop
Really.
this, you absolutely, because my whole thing is like I'm not special. I wasn't a kid that was like, I saw my grandma at the end of my bed and I didn't have any of that. I mean, I was always like an intuitive kid, like I could read the room. I always knew that, my parents always said that, but I wasn't seeing spirits. I wasn't like knowing where they hid the, presence. I just didn't. It just was through this work and this wanting to connect, this desire and the joy that it brought me that I was able to really develop the skill. But honestly, anybody can do this. Anyone can do this.
Cool.
But you have to be willing to. You have to be open and willing.
Or want
right?
to. Or want to.
want
You know, a
to,
lot of
right.
yeah. Yeah.
Well, we've talked about this before. I'm like, I'm good. I'll just work with Jess. Like,
And that's why I'm here. That's why I'm here. If you're like, I got too much on my plate, I'll help you out.
It can happen over the miles though. And that was what I thought was so cool. Like I thought we'd have to be like holding hands or like having some sort of an energy
Nope.
exchange.
I do everything over Zoom.
Say it again.
I do everything over Zoom. All the readings I do.
Wow.
There's a lot of people in the States I'm working with. My friend in Mexico, like everything is over Zoom, and I love it so much because you can be in the comfort of your own home.
yeah.
And then I can be where I want to in my little space. It's amazing.
It's so impressive to see what doors can open when you give yourself the freedom
Yeah.
to do so.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if those would have opened had you been so constricted to the schedule that you had prior. But can I share the story? Because this can
Absolutely.
over a frantic telephone call when your girlfriend in Minneapolis, Minnesota is screaming into the phone because nothing's going right. That's me.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've got to tell the story of the earring with Jess. So my mother-in-law passed away in 2015 and she only had boys. And so all of us girls got her jewelry, and I'm definitely like jewelry more. So I have a lot of her jewelry collection, and I have this fabulous pair of earrings. She had really great style. They're like a double hoop earring with a diamond in the center, and I love them. And in fact, the first time I ever wore them, you noticed
suspended diamond.
Yes, you were like, oh my gosh, those diamond earrings are so cool. And I'm like, they're Betsy's. So they mean a lot because they're my late mother-in-law's and they're beautiful. So I don't even know how many years ago, probably you were in New Zealand. So it had to have been like 3 years ago. I was late for a meeting and I had a turtleneck on, and it was a more important meeting, and I stuck the earrings in and I went running in. It was in like a public space of a golf course.
Yeah.
And it was a meeting for some moms, and it was still COVID. So it was so weird. But I remember I had a turtleneck on and I threw my earrings in so I could look good and feel confident running into the meeting. And when I got in there, I only had one on. And I was so upset. I took my shirt off. Not everybody, don't worry. I took my shirt off. I was looking all around. I retraced all my steps. I was in my car. I was all over the golf course. I offered a reward. I said, if anybody finds this, I will give you $100. Like, it means so much to me. And literally never, ever, ever found it. So like probably 2.5 years passed by. And this past summer, my husband, I had gotten a new car, and he had turned my old car in, and he just scooped up everything in my car. He put it in a plastic bag and set it in the mudroom. Like, didn't even tell me about it. Brought the new car home. Wasn't that big of a deal. And I was on the phone with Jess then another like 5 months later.
Yeah.
And I'm in the mudroom and I'm like, oh my God, I got to clean out my mudroom. It is so disgusting. And there's all this stuff, and there was a bag of just garbage in the back corner. But since I was on the phone with Jess, I'm like, I'll just go through it. It's a good time to go through it. Make
Just
sure.
cutter, yeah.
I'll pull out if I find a good Sharpie marker. I'll pull out if I find, an AirPod that might have been missing. And I'm pulling piece out by piece, and there's some coins at the bottom. And I don't believe in throwing away money. I think it's a bad omen. So even the pennies, I'm pulling them out. And right there at the bottom of the bag is the earring I lost years prior.
She's screaming. She's like, oh my God, oh my God. I'm like, what? Are you okay? Do I need to call someone?
It
What happened?
I mean, I could not only did it somehow get scooped up in my husband's hands from underneath the car, but it sat in a plastic bag for over a year, at least 2 years, and it never got thrown out. It never, and Jess, I was like, oh my God. And Jess instantly was like, oh, that's your mother-in-law. Like she instantly knew.
She's effing with you.
Mm-hmm.
She F's with Aaron so hard. And she loves it. It's because she doesn't want you to take your life so seriously. That's all I gotta say.
I think it's a fluke. I think it's a fluke, and I'm like, okay, I get it. It's, okay, it's a wink from my mother-in-law.
Yeah.
Move on.
Yeah.
So this past fall, as a lot of you know, I was in New York City with my mom. It's the episode where I told you she completely face planted and wiped out on the sidewalk.
Episode 2, tripping in New York.
We're about to leave for the airport. We have like 30 minutes. So we walk across the street from our hotel to grab a coffee. And we're getting the coffee, and I reach up, and once again, I don't know any better. One of the earrings is gone again. And I freak out. I am crying again. I'm like, why am I so stupid? Why am I wearing these if they're going to fall out? I have everybody on their hands and knees at the coffee shop. Like, I'm telling New Yorkers, like, get down, dog. Dr. Wall Street. I'm over at the hotel. I'm like yelling at people. I'm like, I need to get back into my room. I have everybody at the hotel. I am like threatening lives. I'm like, you have to find, because I have to leave, and I know I can't get back to New York City to find my earring.
Right.
We have the bellman in the like gutters. And they let me back into the room we already checked out into, and we go through everything with a flashlight. We empty out every bag, every suitcase. We go through everything, and I'm crying. I'm so upset. And prior to this losing my earring, my mom and I had this great weekend, but it was the last few hours in New York, and you'll understand this because of the way I shop. I didn't buy the bag I wanted to.
Oh, this is
and I
way
was
heavily.
So upset, and I was acting like a child. I can't believe I didn't get it. Now we don't have time, and I really wanted it, and I came all the way here, and I knew this is what I wanted, and I was just like, with this lovely weekend, and then of course I have this stupid materialistic fit because I didn't get the bag.
But a fit you would only have with your mom.
Of course.
Like it's total,
it's a safe place. It's a safe place.
So my mom's kind of like, oh my God, she's being so tough about a silly bag, which by the way, I ended up getting, if anyone's concerned. Don't worry. So
I have no doubt.
The earring is gone. The earring's gone. And what's so crazy is that my grandma has recently passed as well. And my mom she's born very strict Catholic, born and raised. So she doesn't, because of the way she was raised, really get into anything beyond life and death. She thinks you go to heaven, but we'll meet up there when we get there.
That's the only spirit world there.
Yeah. She has her idols and her statue, and that's what she's been trained. So since my grandma has passed, my mom was sharing with us, I think I see signs. I think I know there's signs from her. And she was telling me about, different ways she really thinks now that my grandma's around. And so anyway, the earring's gone, and I'm so upset. And we're in the air cab going to the airport, and the earring never came back. And I'm like, I can't believe I did this again. And I'm like, my mother-in-law hates me. Like, she got rid of the earring, and we're never going to find it again because, I was a spoiled brat about this bag, and I left her son home alone with the kids all weekend. And so anyway, we get home. No, this is God's honest truth. I unpack meticulously my entire bag just to make sure one more time.
Yeah, one last pass.
My carry-on, everything out. My bag, everything out. Okay. And I'm on the phone with Jess, I'm going to say 3 or 4 days later. And I'm like, you're never going to believe it, Jess. Freaking lost the earring again. And I don't you dare tell me that my mother-in-law's playing tricks on me. She doesn't want me having her pretty earrings, and I know it. So what do you say, Jess?
I said, have you looked in the bag?
I'm like, yeah.
That was all I could say. Like, I'm like, it's in the bag.
And I'm like, no,
I could see it. Like, I could.
But what did you do on your end? Like, was it verbal, or was it feeling, or
no?
just?
So this would have been a case of clairvoyance. Like, a picture in my head showed me the diamond at the bottom of like a bag.
So,
and sometimes it's hard because this is not an exact science.
Yeah.
So I go, have you looked in all of the I thought it was maybe in like a suitcase. I'm like, have you looked in all of the bags? That's all I could say.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Jess, knock it out. It's 4 days in. I had half of New York City looking for this earring. I had the entire staff at the St. Regis, like crying. I was like screaming, like they were gonna have to call the cops.
Yeah.
We got home. I not only I took every article of clothes out, my undies, my socks, everything, shook it, felt it, and then my carry-on bag. It's the same bag that I had been bringing in and out of work, and so I emptied it out. Like I looked through it, but I left. I have like a favorite hairbrush.
Yeah.
That I like looked through. I left it in there. And then I had my day planner that goes everywhere with me. I still write in a paper planner. I had taken that planner in and out of that work bag that I also use as a carry-on multiple times over these 4 days. So she's like, Erin, look in the bag. And I'm like, you know what? You can shut up. I looked in that bag. And she's like, just look in the bag.
One more time.
I walk over. I have a few different bags I carry in and out of work. And at this time I was carrying this burgundy, just a tote. And I walk over and I look in, and it's just my hairbrush and my writing journal, my day journal. And I pull both of them out, and the earring is sitting at the bottom of my bag.
Oh my Lord.
It was
love it.
loose. It wasn't in a compartment. It wasn't in a sachet. It wasn't zipped up in a pocket. It wasn't put into my jewelry. It was loose in the bottom of the bag. Now, it could have easily fallen out. I don't know how it got in there. There's no reason it should have been in there. Like loose, just sitting there.
And you'd been through it a million times.
Like literally. And
I just think it's so funny that this has happened twice now when I've been on the phone. Like she didn't find it a different time.
And you think that Betsy is screwing with her? You think this is like
so it was interesting when she found it. And she was, again, freaking out. I just was like, let me tune in, tap in, turn on, because I want everyone to know this is not something I walk around every day, like talking to spirits with. That's like not how I roll. I'm not a Teresa Caputo. I'm not going to go up to you in the grocery store and say, can I give you a message? That's not how I roll.
yeah.
So it takes me a second. I'm like, I'm just going to go, I do a little opening to spirit. And I'm like, I'm going to just tune and tap in. And like, I just felt like Betsy come in. And she was laughing, okay? She is laughing. And like, I don't know. And I don't know if I said this. I always see Betsy, like, did she smoke?
Yes. Yes,
okay,
yes.
because
Yes.
she's always
in the house.
I was just like sitting back, like, gotcha.
100%.
Giggling.
Yes.
Just like, mm-hmm. Like, and she's like, she needs to stop. She needs to stop with the, like, like it was stop with the making you're making your life crazy is what she was saying. You got to stop, like calm down.
Yes.
Life is funny and I'm going to F with you. I'm going to F with you.
Like
she likes it.
Yeah, you said to me at that point, she's like, she just wants you to loosen up, just laugh a little. Like it's no big deal that you didn't get the bag. Like, and I hadn't told Jess about my last day with my mom.
Oh, so you didn't even know that
part. I didn't tell Jess, like leading up to the missing earring, I was being a total brat because I didn't get the bag I want. I didn't say any of that because we had an amazing weekend.
Yeah.
It was just like 2 hours of me having buyer's regret or buyer's remorse that I didn't buy something.
Right.
So through Jess, Betsy was telling her like, okay, loosen up. It's not that big of a deal if you don't get a freaking bag. You're in New York City with your mom. You're having so much fun. Like chill out, laugh more, have more fun. And what I think is so amazing is I'm a little afraid. I believe in it and I support it, but I would be afraid to have any of that energy around me. And so I think that Jess is like the vehicle that comes through to me. It's cool. Because like for me, it feels safe to talk to Jess about it, but I would never want to be alone with it. And that's just where I'm at in my life, So I think this earring now has a hysterical, funny place between me and Jess and my late mother-in-law.
And Betsy. Yeah. Betsy's.
Isn't that crazy?
And she also wanted you to know like about the magic of like not everything is tangible. Like she just wanted to add that little magic.
Yeah.
Like things are magical, There is magic in the world.
That would be her. That would be exactly what she would say.
Well, and sister, if I had to say two women that I think you have a little magic in you too. And what I mean by that is the sparkle, the light, the energy. Yeah, totally.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
Okay, so can people So this happened on accident with you and me. It was a total accident, and I've always believed in what you can do, but I never knew it would just be so like
practical
or spontaneous too. Like
Yeah.
it just came out of nowhere. So could somebody call you and be like, listen, I really want to hear what my loved ones have to say, or like, how does that work?
Yeah. So I have a website. So I go, for people who know me as Jess Manuel, that was my maiden name. So I'm going by my married name now. That was another, like, I think it's time for me to be Jessica St. Germain. That's my legal name. So that's my married name.
It's also a
Um,
separate name. Why would you not use it? Why would you not choose it?
Right.
It's good.
Yeah.
So you can go to my website, which is jessicastgermain.com. I know you guys will probably link it in the show notes. And you can just look at the offers. I have a reading. You can book a reading. Everything's done through Zoom. I have a calendar. You just pick a time that's right for you. And I would recommend, it's best when people are coming with pure intentions. Like, you really want guidance on something, you want to connect to someone specific, you're open to this. Because I have done readings for people who are skeptics and they're like, oh, she didn't say this or that. And it's like, okay, but that's just not what it's about.
Yeah.
I do my best to give evidence and make it as clear and evidential as I can. But you have to come with an open heart. That's what I always say. Like, just come with an open heart. It's your reading. You get to take what resonates, leave what doesn't, but just be open to receiving the messages. Because a lot of times what comes through is stuff that people aren't that won't even make sense until maybe a little bit further down the track. You know what I'm saying? So I'm always like, take notes. So yeah, come and have a reading, go to my website, book it out, send me an email. I'm just happy to like connect with people. And like I said, this is my personal mission to create personal peace, world peace through personal peace. And these messages are always for your greatest and highest good.
So awesome. And you don't have to know the person, right? This doesn't have to be like you and I were friends for so long.
No. I actually prefer if I don't know people, because then I'm not, because I have read for friends, and sometimes I'm like, is this because I know this, or it's actually coming through? So it's almost more difficult to do readings for friends.
I'm wondering, is there anything, a little take-home message for the listener or the viewer right now? Is there something that they can tap into? You were saying that we all have this, a little bit of intuition. Is there any practical thing that just your everyday Jane Doe can do?
We love Jane Doe.
Absolutely. So one thing that I recommend all the time, over and over and over again, it's meditation. And look, I am not saying you got to go to Tibet and study with the monks for 12 years. I'm saying 5 minutes and just focus on your breath. It's the easiest thing you can do. And you create a practice with that. So 5 minutes in the morning, and you can do it with breath. An easy, like, kind of mantra is inhale 1, exhale 2. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2 with your breath. And you're going to have thoughts coming in and out, the laundry list, what you're doing with the kids, where you're going, what's for dinner. Just allow that to come in, and then bring your consciousness back to your breath. 5 minutes, ladies and guys, if you're here. I mean, that's all you need to do. And I'm telling you, not only will it create just a really beautiful peace within you, it can also open you up to just seeing the magic that is around you and synchronicities and stuff like that.
I love it.
I'm going to start trying to do that.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard.
5 minutes.
We need to do it before our next whack-a-mole.
And there's no talking, apparently. There's
no.
Jess,
we love
such
you.
Good stuff.
What else did we miss anything? Is there anything else we need to know and catch up? You can't come back whenever you like.
I just love you guys, and it's just like such a happy place for me. Thank you so much for inviting me onto your podcast. Like, it's just such a joy.
Well, that's really why we did So Happy You're Here, because Jess, if you think about this, because of our Saturday morning fashion show that Becky and I were the first guests on, you replaced me as a guest, then, because of that, like, that's why we're friends. And that's why most people who listen to this, even if you've never watched our home shopping show, like, it's actually created friendships like ours.
Yeah.
I mean, we do have home shopping to credit.
The best part of the whole experience, obviously, was the friendship. Best part.
Literally.
It's so good. And so we have that to credit. And that's why we have this podcast so that we can keep the conversation going and bring back some of our favorite friends throughout the last 10 years.
Guest number 1.
Yeah.
I'm so happy you're here.
All the way from New Zealand.
I feel like I have like a thank you, everyone. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you, Mom.
You like me. You really like me.
We're going to link Jess's website. Just say it one more time out loud for anybody.
So it's jessicastgermain.com. I'll link it. Have a looky-loo, schedule a meeting, and come with an open heart.
Can't wait.
Yeah. That's
Okay.
exciting.
We love you. We adore you. Come home for a visit soon. You know what we should do? Post the video of when she surprised you at my house.
Oh, yes.
I was thinking the same thing.
Okay, we will.
No, we gotta do a little montage. Most of the time we've spent together, it has been in screams or music. So this was really nice that we spoke for most of the time.
So we will post the surprise video. And Jess, do you want to take us out with a song? We got to finish. We started with a song. What's singing to your heart right now? What's speaking to your soul?
God. Okay. It's a song that I started with. I'm sorry. I'm like, all I want to do is
It's to you.
One night of love was all we knew. Is that right?
please won't you give me, please won't you blame ya, the one.
Do you remember that video in the rain?
I see you on the keys.
Yeah.
I want
The video in the rain. I should have been watching that when I was 7, but boy, do I remember it.
I mean, Ann Wilson. She's my hair muse right now.
Roxy.
Right.
We love you, girl. Thank you so much.
I love you so much.
Love you.
Thanks, everybody.
Talk to you soon. Bye, 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 bye.
You guys, do us a huge favor, please. Will you like this podcast, share it, or subscribe? Because that helps, right, Bex?
It will help us a ton.
It will. And I don't know if we've helped you, but if you don't mind helping us, that'd be great.
Fair's fair.
Love you.